PFM, good that you can join us. Time now to meet another one of our candidates in the upcoming council elections. Peter Orton has been on the program before, but it was such a terrible line that we decided that we would call Peter back to tell us all about his ambition for the ward of Briars. Peter, welcome once again to Lockdown Radio.
Thank you very much for having me.
This is a much better line, Mr. Orton. Let me tell you, the last time we could barely hear you, so I'm absolutely delighted that we've got you back on. A resident for 23 years. Briars, an interesting part of the world as far as the Mornington Peninsula is concerned. Three pretty senior and experienced councillors are deciding to call it quits. One of them, of course, is the mayor, and others as well to go, leaving you, Peter, and two others to maybe... show us the way. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm actually quite sad that actually Sam is stepping down because I was actually rather looking forward to maybe working alongside him because I think he's done some wonderful work in being able to communicate what the council is actually doing, and I think that actually helps the community understand how our community functions and how the council engages with them. So I'm actually quite sad that Sam has stepped back.
Well, we've spoken to Sam about that, but basically he's got a young family. The commitment has been huge, and I must say, as a mayor, he's really led the way. I think there were a couple of people hanging back a little bit before they came up with some conclusions, but I would say at the end of his term, he's covered himself in some glory, I would suggest.
Yeah, look, I think he has. I really do. And I think that it's because, Sam's a younger man, and he's got fresh ideas. He understands the importance of actually being able to communicate. Now, council generally, they're known for what was it, rates, rubbish and roads, I think it is. But in fact, the actual council plan is something like 109 different line items in the budget. Now, there's 109 different areas of where money is actually going. Now, if the council can actually communicate those things to the people in the streets, then they'll understand where their rates are actually going for. Because I know there's been talk about rates are too high and so forth, but if we're able to communicate, or if council's able to communicate where the money's being spent, how it's engaging and the things it's actually doing, then I think that the community will be far more prepared to trust that the work is actually being done and the money is actually being spent in fruitful ways for the community.
Well, that's what
it is our money. They're our rates, and it's being spent in worthwhile activities within the community.
Indeed. Well, that's what we like. We certainly like to know where our rate money is going, Peter. Now, trust is one thing and experience is another, which is good. You probably have them both. You've been around the Mornington Peninsula for a long time. You and, of course, your now grown family have been down here on the Mornington Peninsula for 23 years, plus, of course, your contribution to Peninsula Voice. So you know what's going on, you have experience, and people know you locally.
Yeah, they do. Peninsula Voice is a group that started back in 2014. I'm the founding chairperson. I'm one of the founders. And the idea of Peninsula Voice was to actually to work on issues that we felt were a concern in the community, issues of family violence, of addiction, substance abuse and so forth. And we thought that if we gain a better understanding of what's behind those things, why those things actually happen, then we can find a more fruitful way of going forward as a community, so that it's sort of moving the continuum in a different direction, so that we don't just accept these things as a given, that we can actually all take steps to actually change it. And education does that. Education, awareness, understanding. Because what happens is that we learn new things. We actually have a different perspective. We have a different world view of what these things mean. So we can actually be a bit more objective about actually how we go forward. And, look, I've been married for 30 years, and yet when Rosie Batty got up and when we were talking about family violence, I learned things about relationships that I wasn't aware of, and I've been married for 30 years. So, my relationship has grown through my better understanding of what these things actually mean.
Well, congratulations on the 30 years. It's a fantastic achievement and it's some stability in these sometimes troubled times, Mr. Orton. You, of course, are the founding chairman of Peninsula Voice. I think given the brief of Peninsula Voice, maybe we need to co-opt you as a producer down here at RPPFM, because that's essentially what we're doing. And Lockdown Radio, of course, is an attempt to reach out across the community and let everybody know that we're all in this together. Now, your action plan revolving around the 3 Ps: provide,
That's right.
promote, and prosper.
I've got three Ps: the providing and upholding the highest standards of governance. And I think that something, we could spend half an hour talking about governance and what that actually means. Promoting healthy community engagement, connectedness between the communities, and also to prosper a vibrant business community. Because all of those 3 things are probably, they're all really important, and particularly important now as we come out of COVID-19. Because, look, COVID-19 has really changed the way our community functions, and we're investing a lot of money, of course, to keep income in the community, to keep things moving forward. But I mean, at a certain point, we've got to start moving out of that. So it's about finding ways of being able to work together as a community to keep our community strong. And I actually think that our community is quite a strong community, and it's a very connected community. And I suspect that we'll actually come out of COVID-19. As well as any other community, and I think that we can all work together to be able to do that.
Well, we probably would like to. It's certainly been a very big conversation piece here over the last 10 days or so about the designation of the peninsula in terms of its categorisation as either metro or regional. Do you have a view on that?
Look, I do, and it's one of those issues that there's issues on either side. There are benefits for community, rates and so forth, and concessions and so forth. But then there's also the need that we want to attract as many people down from Melbourne to the peninsula to spend money on in our communities and our cafes and buy wines and so forth. So there is an interconnectedness, and it's not a straightforward subject, and it needs to be sort of considered more fully. And I need a lot more information on actually what those things are. I'm not privy to all of that information, and it's something that I'm looking forward to working with if I'm selected as a councillor. Mr.
Orton, you're already showing the signs of a great politician. I think that's a wonderful answer. It's interesting, actually. It's a very similar answer to what we got from Antonella Celli the other day, standing down in Seawinds, of course. She's very experienced in council matters, and she too is basically taking it on board and wants to make a decision once she's got all the necessary information in to make a decision one way or the other. Briars Ward, interesting. There's a lot of activity down there at the moment. You've got some large development going on as well. Green wedge, of course, needs to be protected. Building heights as well. What are you seeing as the main issues around the Briars area?
Well, the most obvious one is that we've had 3 councillors there and they've all stepped down. So it's a matter of building enough strength in the people that are going to be voted. And I think there's 15 people who have put their hand up to be a candidate. I'm one of those. I've got extensive business experience, and I've also got extensive governance experience, and I've also, I've got demonstrated community experience as well through Peninsula Voice. So I think, I tick 3 of those boxes where I think they're all going to be important, and obviously I'm looking forward to being selected as one of the candidates to work on the community's behalf. I'm putting my hand up and I'm hoping I'm selected.
You're taking some responsibility, Mr. Orton. We like that very much indeed. By the way, just running a little bit of a text line here at the moment. We've got the texts on 0412 987 987. You're getting the ring of endorsement. We've had a couple of texts come in the last 20 minutes or so while we've been talking to you, saying they like the sound of your message, Peter. So congratulations. You got the cut through. Well done. So 15 candidates in the Briars Ward. As you say, there's a lot of experience going out, so probably we need some experience. We need people that are going to give us some continuity as well as this council assembles a little bit later on this year. 15, 3 to be selected. It's going to get intense. How do you project your image and your message?
Well, look, I think the fact that I've actually been around for a long time, and look, the thing is, we haven't talked about my business experience. I've actually run 2 businesses on the peninsula here, and my company's actually supplied work here. So, I understand the way business is, and we need business. We need a very strong business community that's vibrant. Our arts and our culture, they're things that I understand, and I actually think that they're the things that we've got that we can actually sell our community more broadly so that we can actually encourage more people to come down and spend money on the peninsula here. And I do think this is important when we consider how we go forward, because if you think about the Yarra Valley on the north side of Melbourne, that's a similar sort of an area where it's attracting people to come into that area to enjoy the lifestyle and so forth. Now, that's something that we that live on the peninsula have it all the time, but we need to be able to communicate that more broadly and bring more people down here to be able to keep our businesses vibrant, people buying our wines and so forth, which is going to provide employment for our kids and for ourselves. So, it's really important we understand where our potential markets are to try and attract custom. And then, of course, we need to be thinking about, how do we provide the right sort of service delivery so that when people come down here, that they're having a good experience. They're coming to a nice, clean environment. Our beaches are clean. The people are friendly in the street. Those sorts of things are all ways of actually being able to enhance the beauty of our peninsula and the strength of our community to a broader audience. Now, that's something I think we can all do, and I'm encouraged that I might be selected to be one of the pieces to be able to help that happen.
Well, it's very interesting. I tell you what, Peter, you really are resonating. We're getting text messages in here with people really enjoying the sound of what you've got to say. The latest text is a combination of kindness, thoughtfulness and experience. Victoria has been denied recently. I think this particular listener is very difficult to read and talk at the same time. But definitely, we are certainly getting a reaction to you, so congratulations, Peter. I guess probably if we do put out the welcome mat to everybody wanting to come down the Mornington Peninsula, they turn around and say they want to live down here. And then what we've got to do is we've got to have this very sort of nuanced discussion about, well, how do we preserve what we love so much, our beautiful green wedge, the view over the water, and how do we share the love amongst all those?
And Brendan, I'm glad you actually said that, because it's really interesting. I'm old enough to know when Melbourne was a city that, Melbourne's always been a wonderful city. I'm a proud Victorian. But Melbourne is now seen as being is a world city for a start off, and it's the envy of the world, meaning everybody wants to move to Australia. And of course, coming to Melbourne's one thing, but coming to the Mornington Peninsula is another level again. So we have to be very careful of being able to maintain the beauty of our environment, our lifestyle and so forth, and to manage those pressures, because those pressures are going to be on. And you mentioned, you alluded to that point about these large developments going on. That's going to happen. Now, we need to be aware of that, and we need to be thinking about, well, how do we protect these beautiful green spaces that we all need for our health and our well-being? How do we do that and try and restrict the amount of people that can come to maintain that lifestyle that we've currently got? So it's a delicate balance that really needs to be understood, and I'm hopeful that there's another 10 councillors that are voted onto council to really put that in the forefront of their mind when they start to plan the next 4-year budget, to know where we're going to be in 5 years' time and 10 years' time and 15 years' time, so that the beauty and the wonderful thing that we embrace and love can be maintained for a long time, not just for our own children, but for their children's children. Well, it's really it's something we've got to take a long-term view of this, and that's not a short-term thing. So I'm hoping that I can be an example, and someone can come following me to be able to take it to another higher level, so that we can maintain this beautiful thing we have here.
Well, it sounds like the ratepayers in the Mornington Peninsula are certainly endorsing your message today, Peter Orton, because as I said, not before have we had these messages, but people certainly letting us know that they've really enjoyed hearing what you've got to say, and it's a style and a form of leadership, says another texter, that Victoria has been craving for. So, Peter, congratulations on what you're doing down there in Briars. We wish you all the very best, and certainly hope that you can convert this great energy, this experience, into a better place for all of us as we chart what is, I think, going to be some pivotal years ahead, not only coming out of COVID-19, but as you say, getting this balance between what we have, what we assume we've got, and what we want to have going forward. Very, very interesting discussion to be had, I think, and we wish you and the new council and councillors all the very best going forward.
Wonderful, Brendan. Thank you very much for your time.
Indeed. Peter Orton, thank you very much indeed, who is standing in the seat, or the ward of Briars, going ahead into the council elections.